I hope you are as excited about this one as I am because this is one of the most impactful. This concept of embracing constraints has turned my world upside down over the last almost 2 decades. It's made business more creative, more successful, life more creative and successful, artistic, fun, challenging, and a whole host of other things that are all beneficial. But it only came from the reframe of turning limitations into competitive advantages and creative advantages. And I'm so excited to share this with you because this is one of the pivotal foundations that have allowed so much growth, so much success in my business and in businesses around the world that really truly take this concept to heart. Okay. But before we get into that, what's up? My name is Dean Soto. I am the president and founder of ProSulum.com, ProSulum.com. What is Pro Sulum? Pro Sulum is a crazy name that sounded cool. It was a Latin name and it has nothing really to do with the things we do, but I love it. I kept it for the last 15 years. We are a virtual staffing agency, not your typical one. Real humans, real virtual assistants, but what we call virtual systems architects. Your typical virtual assistant, your typical employee, you give them a task, they will ask you a bunch of questions on how to do it. They'll do it hopefully the right way, and then they'll ask you more questions, and you babysit and you don't scale your business. Virtual systems architect, on the other hand, you give them a task, they document it into a step-by-step procedure, into a checklist that is so perfect, so visually appealing that even your grandma could do that task. Your virtual systems architect does the task. You give them another task. They do the exact same thing. They document it into another task. 30 tasks later, there's 30 things you never, ever, ever have to do in your business ever again. And so your business scales. You're able to hire better. You're able to decrease turnover. You're able to make more revenue. You're able to have more time. You're able to build a business that works without you and makes money while you sleep. So if that's interesting to you, if that's something you would like, go to prosulum.com, ProSulum.com. And if you'd like to get on a call and see a little bit more about how we can make you scale easily, go to prosulum.com/schedule. All right, let's get into this. I'm so excited. When I first started Pro Sulum, it was an IT business, and then it was a web development business, and then it turned into a whole host of other things into what it is now. But when I first started, I wanted to be everything to everybody. And that it's funny because Pro Sulum, the name in Latin literally means for everyone. Pro Sulum, for, and then Sulum, everyone. I, at heart, am a generalist. It's been very difficult for me to specialize in anything. And so I thought, well, I'm going to start this IT business and it's going to be for everyone. It's going to be, I'm not going to focus my attention on anybody. And what I quickly learned was that when there was no constraints, when it was for everyone, nobody wanted it. And it went from consumer to focusing on businesses. And then I started thinking, you know what? I don't want to be IT. I want to have something that's online. And so I went into web development. And it was through web development that I had this issue come up. Okay. And I'm going to share that issue in just a little bit. But a lot of the times when we're building something, when we're creating something, we have what's called the not enough blues. I don't have enough time. Make sure you can see what I'm doing right here. Okay. Yeah, I think you could see everything. That looks good. That looks good. Okay. Just wanted to make sure you were able to see what was up there. The not enough blues. This comes from the book Rework. If you have not read the book Rework by Jason Fried and David Hannemeyer Hansen, it is the business book of business books if you want to keep things small, if you want to keep things tight, constrained, but make a crap ton of money. Okay. There is a specific chapter in that book called The Not Enough Blues. Or sorry, it's called Embrace Constraints. And in it talks about the not enough blues. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough people. Okay. And when I was in the beginning stages of my business, that's what I would tell myself. And people who come to me asking for advice on business. In fact, I had somebody who I was mentoring yesterday, or I was mentoring, and yesterday I saw them at the gym, and they said that they don't have enough time. They ended up getting 12-hour work days, and which is fine. That's great. But when you start to see that you're always going to have excuses, you're always going to have things that get in the way and so on, the more that you can create opportunities out of that, the better. And I'm going to share one in just a second. It is a good thing that you have these constraints. Okay. When I started to move into the web development side of things, this is when I started to see that WordPress was the huge gorilla that was going to take over everything. You had Joomla, you had Drupal, you had custom websites that you could make on your own. You had all these different ways to make websites. But WordPress, even though it started out as a blogging platform, was slowly turning into kind of like the everything platform for anybody who wanted to build a site quickly, have a blogging capability, but also have the capability to have the website aspect of it, like the business website or the personal branding website and so on and so forth. Had plugins, and plugins were super, super popular. It's kind of like having your phone. WordPress is the phone, the Apple iPhone, and it has some things in there, but the extensions are what make it interesting. Just like the apps on the phone that you can download from the App Store, that's what makes the iPhone interesting, right? Same thing with the Galaxy and so on and so forth. And so what happened, what I quickly found when I was creating these websites for people was one of the most important things was an opt-in form, right? To the newsletter or to a lead magnet or things like that. And I quickly found that it was harder to create those than I expected, because some people had a MailChimp, some people had Constant Contact as their email newsletter thing. Some people had Infusionsoft, some people had there were all these different tools, and all of them had a different API. They all had different ways where they would usually they would have a way to embed the form onto your website, but then the form looked crappy. It was like this really crappy looking embed form. It was usually didn't work well. So you had Aweber, you had all these different things. I wanted beautiful looking forms. Whenever I would go and look at websites that I liked, their opt-in forms always looked beautiful, right? It always looked good and always looked appealing, like it was professional. But you either had a plugin that didn't create it created a beautiful form, but it didn't work with the email newsletter provider, their API, or it had a it or you can use the embed form from the email provider and it looked like crap. And so there was nothing that did both, that where you can take any email provider and have a beautiful form. So I ended up creating this thing called Magic Action Box. It's no longer supported. However, there are some customers who bought it who still use it to this day. I think I put it out in like 2012 or 2013 or something like that. And I even have a Pro Sulum, somebody who has a virtual systems architect, who still uses Magic Action Box to this day. If you search Magic Action Box and WordPress, you'll see it's still in the WordPress repository, but it actually says you can't download it because it's no longer supported. But it links to prosulum.com because that's who made it. And so that constraint, I wanted a beautiful form that worked with any email provider. You would take the code that the email provider would give you for the embed, and you put it in the Magic Action Box, and boom, you can then create your beautiful form. Okay, and that's all it did. People wanted all these other whiz bang things with it, and I said no. This is what it does, and it became one of the most popular extensions on WordPress. I was making at the time probably like, and I didn't do it well. I didn't do where I should have had like a subscription or like an annual subscription. It was like a one-time fee. And I was making anywhere between $4,000 to $10,000 a month at one point with that one extension. Super simple. Then you'd have other extensions that came out, the other plugins that came out, like Thrive themes, which then had their Thrive leads, and they made this awesome set of suites that I still use. And so I just kept it the way it was. I had a diehard set of customers, and they loved the simplicity of it. Okay. And so the more that you stop freaking out about constraints and more that you take advantage of them, the more opportunity you have. Okay. Just like with Pro Sulum, I wanted via virtual systems architects, I wanted them to document what they do and then do the task. That's it. I needed it for my business. I needed documentation for my business, like really good visual documentation, pictures and everything like that, so that I could scale my business. And I wanted that to offer to other people. That's the main thing that is offered by Pro Sulum. It's the backbone of Pro Sulum. Two things: visual documentation that I can tell somebody what to do via a 5-minute video. They document it and then they do it. That's it. Okay. Start embracing them and let them guide you to solutions. And start embracing these constraints. So constraints are advantages in disguise. So Jason Fried and David Hannemeyer Hansen are the ones who wrote Rework. They own basecamp.com. It's been around forever. They only have a small amount of people in their team. They keep things very, very constrained, and they make a crap ton of money. Okay. Limited resources force creativity. There's no room for waste, and it forces you to be creative in a way that is not whiz bang. You have all these tools and stuff like that, but creative in the way that it solves this problem that you have or your client has in a very simplistic way where you still have flexibility over the big guys. Okay. It makes you focus on what really matters. It really focuses you on what really matters. So for Pro Sulum, when it came out of Pro Sulum, the way it is now with virtual systems architects, came out of a need that I had. I had just started to learn how to build systems. I was running a 7-figure dropshipping business on Amazon, and I was being sucked in time after time after time. I was finding suppliers. I was listing products. I was handling customer service, and then I would have to find more suppliers, list products, customer service, and I was just getting sucked in. And I remember that I would hire people. This is at the time that I had a course called Dream Dropshipping, where I was teaching people via a course how to dropship and build a 7-figure dropshipping business like I had. I would give that course to the people that I hired so that they would understand what I was doing. 3 months later, after they were all trained up, time after time, they would quit. And I'm like, "What the frick is going on? I need to get help." And I'm the one that I'm the Amazon dropshipping master, right? Right? I have this course that is teaching people how to do this, and time and time again, the people I'd hire would quit. And it was my friend Danny who turned me on to Sam Carpenter from Work the System, and I started to realize I have no documented processes. I didn't realize that documented processes were the reason why big companies were able to scale. I had no clue. And so I started documenting processes. I documented my first process, and that was actually for my podcast that I had at the time, which I had shared before. And it was painful. It was so painful. It was 12 to 15 hours of documenting one process. I would say it was multiple processes in a system, but I wanted this one thing off my plate, and that was my podcast so that I can focus on the drop shipping. And when I handed it off to the person who was in charge of the podcast, and I never heard from them again, all I saw was podcasts being done, people being interviewed, affiliate income coming in. I was like, "Oh, that 10 to 15 hours was definitely worth it." However, that was so painful. I don't want to do it again. I wanted that gone. And so I thought to myself, I want to hire people who will do this for me and build in a constraint, a regiment that trains them how to do this so that when they're hired, they're documenting and then they're doing the thing. Did that, solved my drop shipping problem. I no longer had to be in my business. And then I offered it to other people, I think starting in 2019. And they loved it. I still have clients from 2019. And so it solves one problem, but that constraint forced focus on what really mattered. What mattered? Documented processes and not having to spend, I wanted to be able to spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes max on a process and have it documented. And I focused on what can we not do. When people would come into Pro Sulum and they'd say, "Hey, can I get somebody who has social media experience and has design experience and is able to code in Java and all other stuff at the same time?" I'd say no. Like, we focus on people who are going to document what you already do that's successful and take that off your plate and make you a lot of money. And a lot of times they'd be like, "Okay, well, I'll try it." And then they try it and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool. This is awesome." Um, we do have it different tiers now. As time moved on, we have different tiers that solve different pain points, but still it's constrained. Okay. What is most important? What is the most important thing to you right now? What is the most important thing to your clients? What's the most important thing to your family? When you have these constraints, clear priorities merge. They emerge from this focus. Okay. So 37 Signals, if you look at their story, they're the creators of Basecamp. They're the ones who wrote Rework. David Hannemeyer Hansen and Jason Fried. They had a design firm to run. They had existing client work. They had a 7-hour time difference. They had a teams that were in different countries, and a very small team. I think at the time they had like 5 to 7 people, and they did not want outside funding. Okay, so they built Basecamp, which ended up being one of the most popular, and still is one of the most popular project management tools for the small business owner that does not have all the whiz bang thing like Microsoft product or project does. It is very constrained. It says no to a lot of things, but it's so simple that when you're starting out, it is a great, great way to manage projects for your clients, for you and your clients. They did that and they turned into a multi-million-dollar company. Okay. That's because they said no to all these other things and said, we want to solve this one problem. We want to solve this problem. They kept their plate small. And the thing is, like, they would then just like with how we teach people with their virtual systems architects, they broke big tasks into small bits. Like you could, let's say you have a lead generation system. Well, start with the first process in that's going to save you a ton of time to get documented. Create a video on how you outreach on LinkedIn via direct message. That's it. Now you never have to do that again, and now you're seeing somebody else do it and you're making money off of it. Okay, whatever it might be. For them, they built less software. Like you can build less software like they did. Magic Action Box, when I built that, it didn't do everything. It created a beautiful form that worked with any email provider. That's it. And it took a crap ton of time for people to get a feature that they wanted, which was to add it was called a button box or something like that, where it was just a button rather than a form where they have a box and you can put a button in there. It took forever for me to build that because I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want to do that, whatever. And when that came out, people loved that and I made more money off of it. Okay. Just enough features. Okay. Just enough features. The more that you constrain yourself, the better. So the big thing is less is more. Okay. The more that you're, as Jim Rohn says, everybody has the same 24 hours. You're never going to get more time. It's what you do with the time that you have that's going to be the success for you or the failure for you. The more that you focus on the things that you don't have, or you focus on what could be, the less you're going to be able to build what matters. One of the things in Rework, it talks about, I forgot what the chapter's called, but basically you build the hot dog first, essentially. So you can't have a hot dog without the actual hot dog. It doesn't matter about the condiments that you have. You can have relish, mustard, all this stuff. But if you just had bread, relish, and ketchup, and hundreds of all these different condiments, but you didn't have the hot dog itself, then it's not a hot dog. And so you need to focus on the actual, like, what is the main thing that you want to create? What is the art that you want to create? What is the product, the service that you want to create? What is even in your relationship, what is the outcome that you want? If you're married, what do you want your family to look like? What do you want your day-to-day living to look like? Why are you getting married in the first place? Why are you in a relationship in the first place? Is it just to solve like a bunch of different things that are within you that you can't control, like different, whether it's romantic desires, or whether it's desires of not being abandoned or whatever? Or is it because you want a partner that's going to be with you on this life and has the same goals, and you have the same ideals, and you can spend this life together, making it much more not just pleasurable, but get more out of life. The more that you just kind of are reaching for all these, oh, this customer says this and this customer says that, and then rather than focusing on what is important, the more you're going to get what's called feature blight, or bloat, right? It's like fungus on a plant. Um, you can do things like constricting deadlines, constricting features, discard features, um, focus on what's truly useful. What's been described as creeping elegance is probably better described as feature blight. For like a fungus on a plant, it gradually elaborates and blurs the true outline of the product while it drains its sap. And that's by Jeff Raskin. The more that you add, the more that you try to reach for, the more that you try to please, the more that you try to change your vision for other people, the more that you look at the time that you have to do anything. That oh, I have a full-time job, or I'm the business owner that has, a team of 10, but yeah, I need to be doing all these different things. I don't have enough time to do all of this. I can't grow. I can't market. I can't do this. No, the more that you can take all of that and see that is a constraint. Okay, maybe you do work 80 hours a week as a business owner because you did not learn how to scale your business. You can you can add another hour out of the week to read a book like Work the System or Clockwork or the E-Myth Revisited. You can take that another hour out of the week to go get a virtual systems architect and start documenting things in your business so that you no longer have to be the one putting out fires. Okay? We all have constraints, and it's beautiful because you're going to take it more seriously. The more painful the constraints you have, and the more that you have to sacrifice that 1 hour out of the week, the more you're going to get out of it anyway. This is why we exist. Systems plus outsourcing equals freedom. Okay. That's our constraint. You have limited budgets. Perfect. Small teams, even better. The smaller the team, the better. The more that you can document things, the more that you can keep things in documented, processed form into systems, the smaller your team can be. You have tight deadlines, that's great. We thrive in that constraint. That's what we do. Build your systems, build your documented systems and processes. Then you can outsource it and delegate it to your VSA, because the VSA did the documenting in the first place, and now you have freedom. That's it. Simple. That's the constraint that we go under. Okay. Not, hey, we have, social media experts here and there, and we have these Instagram experts, and that's these types of experts, and we have this, and we could do everything for you. No, document your systems that are already working, that are already making you money, and then you delegate it, outsource it. Freedom, done. Okay, that's the constraint that we live by. Your constraints are your advantage. Forget, I need more money, I need venture capital, I need this, I need that, whatever. No. Forget like long release cycles, oh, we got to put all this whiz bang stuff in there. No, start shipping. Just like in the last last video that I did on Seth Godin of just ship it. Start small cycles. Start releasing things. Forget like quick hires. That's the other thing is like I need to get somebody in here quick. I need to hire, and then you lose them 3 months later, and you hire, and you keep on having this turnover. It's because your processes suck and your system sucks, and people don't like when your system sucks, because what you're going to do as a business owner is you're going to blame them for your lack of building out and scaling out your documented systems. You're going to say they don't know how to do what they don't. I told them to do XYZ, and they never do it. Well, it's because you didn't build anything that they can run their rails on. Focus on the essentials. What's making you money now? Build a system around, build documented processes around what's making you money now, frees you up, then you can move on to the next thing. Got to embrace being in the box that you're in right now. Okay. Can't dream about having more time, about having people who could read your mind or whatever. No, you have a box right now. Start using that as a constraint. It drives your creativity. It gives you solutions. It creates focus, and it gives you more innovation. Okay. So what are your current constraints right now? Are you working too much? Do you not know how to delegate? Are the people that you're hiring, are they leaving on a regular basis? Are you not getting the results you want when you're trying to delegate? Or maybe it's a relationship. For me, even on the social aspect, socially, I wanted to be a confident person wherever I went. That was not who I was. My constraint was I would feel in my gut every single time that I went out to places, tightness, nervousness, butterflies. As soon as I went into a new place, it was like, boom, it would hit me. And then that would make me start going into my head and thinking, well, I'm going to say this and they're going to say that. And I start playing out how the interaction is going to go rather than just being present in my body. And so that constraint forced me to start finding ways to get into my body, because I didn't need new ways of speaking. I could speak in front of people, no problem. I could do what I'm doing right now in front of hundreds or thousands of people, no problem. But the one-on-one interactions or moving into a new area with a lot of people, boom, that was what was the constraint. And so breath work, revealing and releasing, embodiment exercises, I had to take the time to start doing those so that I could take that constraint that I had in my body and transmute it into an advantage, which then made me more dynamic, made me more able to speak to people, not be afraid. It didn't matter who it was. I'd speak my mind. I would enjoy the present moment with that person. It didn't matter if it was Panda Express, it didn't matter if it was Starbucks, didn't matter if it was the CEO of a company, didn't matter. That constraint of seeing what my body was doing, so then working on that on that allowed me to become who I wanted to be. You identify the current constraints, you stop fighting them, you let them you use them for your advantage, and you let them guide your decisions. Because if I would have just tried to find the next communication, like head communication, use this type of body language, and when somebody puts you into this frame, you need to put them into that frame and whatever. No, it wouldn't work, because that's all head. I needed to get into my body, and realizing that that was my constraint, start moving in that direction. Okay. And so that being said, if you're a business owner, if you're ready to turn your constraints into advantages, schedule a call with us, learn how our virtual systems architects can help you transform your limitations into competitive advantages. Dude, if you want to have a business that runs without you, if you like the constraint of I can show a 5-minute video or a 10-minute video of what I do that's already working, they document it, and then I never have to do it again, and I just make money and I see it working, great. Then that's what we do. Go to prosulum.com, prosulum.com/schedule. Let us see if it is a good fit. If it is, we help you to achieve your goals and help you to embrace the constraint that you have right now of crappy systems and probably what I had, which was being sucked back into the fire and putting out fires all the time. So if that sounds good for you, send a 5-minute video. They document it. They do it. Systems plus outsourcing equals freedom. Then go to prosulum.com/schedule. And I will see you in the next video.